Time now is 5:30. We call the Leesburg City Commission meeting to order. We ask our all stand. Commissioner Jay Hurd lead us in prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, we thank you once again for the opportunities to come and to do the business of the city of Leesburg, community which we love, cherish. Tonight I pray that you give us the wisdom, the courage and understandings to make the decisions that best benefit all and that move us forward. I pray for all of our men and women in our armed forces keeping us safe, all of our first responders around here and home, and for those who are taking measures to make sure that we're doing the things that protect us all. We also pray for all of us in this room that you would give us blessings and prosperity. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Tonight we have no proclamations, neither any presentations. Item 4 is our consent agenda, but routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commissioner staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Pull the item from the consent agenda, vote on remaining items with one roll call vote, and discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items the commission would like to pull tonight?
I don't have any.
4B, 4B 2A.
Will be 2A, okay. That means I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Move to properly second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
Yes. Item 4B2A,
Yes.
resolution. Someone like to introduce it,
I'll
please?
introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a full and final release of all claims, parentheses release, to Travelers Insurance, authorizing the distribution of $51,000 as compensation for damage to city property by their insured party and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. Discussion?
The reason I brought this up isn't, so I understand that State Farm is paying all the expenses because of this accident on the bridge, under the bridge. My question is, another claim that we probably have, and that's the bathrooms in the facility by the splash pad where the bathrooms were all damaged, and I'm wondering, did we ever, one, catch the people who did that, and two, charge them for repairs?
Two separate issues.
Mm-hmm.
The bathroom issue was property damage issue.
Mm-hmm.
That issue occurred multiple times. We did catch one of the suspects. He was a minor,
Mm-hmm.
and so we dealt with him that way through juvenile issues. We were not able to submit a claim on that work, and then we repaired it and put a little more beefed up construction in there to prevent it again. In this regard, this is an outside incident. This isn't actually going to be a city insurance claim. The folks that hit the bridge will be
Right.
paying for it. We had a kind of a long road to get here. So ultimately, we bid out the project, and then we finally were able to work with their insurance company.
Okay, thanks. That's all I had.
Any further discussion from the commission? From the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
Yes. Item 5 is public hearings and non-routine items. 5A is a second reading. Would someone like to introduce it, please?
I'll introduce. Has to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending Section 5-3 setbacks of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances to add setback requirements for movie theaters interior to a shopping center and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion from the commission? From the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
No. Item 5B, commission discussion. Reconsider Ski Beach hours of operation.
I'll introduce and ask be read by title only, please.
Yeah, I just want
Reso-
to-
yeah, we don't have a
Alvin's
reso
talk.
on this one.
So we're just gonna
This is
discuss
just
this?
direct us, and that's how we did this last time.
Oh, okay.
When we brought in the purchase, I think, and put in the volleyball lights, we brought a discussion to the commission to talk about operating hours. And the commission discussed this topic and directed that the hours remain the same, which is 10. Since then, we are 10 at night. Since then, we've received a number of complaints in the past couple weeks. I was gonna, just based on the complaints, just executively push the closing hours back to 9, but because it was before the commission, that you guys really needed to rediscuss this and then direct me. I don't think you need a resolution on this matter. I think if there's just consensus from the commission, then we'll execute the order.
Okay, we have
So it's a
gotten
discussion item.
some complaints because there's been some of the activity that we tried to get rid of a couple of years ago in there, and they're speeding out of the park. There seems to be some drug deals going down, and we don't want to get back to that situation again. So the recommendation is to have the summer hours close at 10, but make sure those gates get closed. And the winter hours, since it gets dark between 6 and 7, close it at 8 o'clock, because there's no reason for any darkness going on over there. And that was the request from the folks in Palmar Park.
Which group of folks? There's two groups. There's one group that's totally happy and satisfied with it.
I talked to a previous commissioner, and I talked to a couple other people, so I believe it's all the same group. And I think you talked to that same commissioner too, didn't you? I know a couple other people did here.
Yeah, no, I took a few phone calls on this one. I live in Palmora Park. I don't live down overlooking the park, but I think my recommendation would be 7 to 9 year round, so there's no confusion. I'd like to see a sign put up. I don't like signs, but I think we used to have a sign there, and I think we have to have a sign, especially if we're going to lock them in. So that's my recommendation: 7 to 9 year round.
What are you talking about? 7 a.m. to 9?
9 p.m. Yes. Yeah, I probably wouldn't care about 6 a.m. if it impacts fishermen, but I figure 9 p.m. is dark year round, and they probably need to move on out of there and minimize the problems in there.
Right. I really think that the police can have more viable situations around the city rather than having to park a car or two down there to watch things.
And I had people suggest different times. I just think it'd
Yeah.
be simpler to put a sign up and have one, park opens at 6, 7, closes at 9 p.m.
And if somebody wants to rent the volleyball courts or something during the summer later than that, let
Yeah,
them apply
right.
for it.
Right.
Well, I didn't get the call from that commissioner because that's the commissioner that didn't want volleyball there to begin with and fought me on it. So I got all the other calls. I guess I think what I would rather do is, honestly, is just table it and, well, not table it because it's not anything, but maybe push it off and get a little more information as to actually what's going on. I'd hate to make a snap decision and change this because we had one incident or we got 1 or 2 people that are mad and it affect everybody. We put the lights in there because, I mean, I can tell you who 90% of the volleyball players are, and none of them are doing that kind of stuff. They're all 40-year-old guys, 50-year-old guys, and we put the lights in there and spent the money. But by the same token, I don't want issues down there, and I don't want us to have a problem, but I'd kind of like to, I don't think the chief maybe is aware that there's been complaints, and obviously, officers are supposed to be doing patrols anyway, and so maybe we could just wait a month or 2 and get a little feedback and before we make a decision to change it.
I've never seen lights on down there. Can anybody turn them on at night?
Mhm. Yep.
Mostly around the volleyball court.
No, I knew you meant the
yeah.
volleyball court.
Yeah, at the volleyball
I
court.
hadn't seen lights. I didn't know that you had to request those be turned on or something.
No.
Are they automatic out? They come on?
I don't know.
They're Travis says they're
I was
automatic.
looking
Well,
for.
can we agree on 7 to 10 or 7 to 11 while we
It's,
gonna
it's
wait.
7 to 10 right
7 to
now.
10.
But there's no sign and the gate.
I thought- didn't
What
there a sign
happens is
on
they're
the
getting in there and they can stay as long as they want because the sensor lets them out. That's the
Right.
problem.
The gates lock.
But once they're in,
but
they can
once
stay as
they're
long as they
in,
want.
yeah.
That's,
So what are normal park hours? If there's a park across town, what's that hours?
It's
Sunrise to
7 to 10.
7 to 10.
7 to 10 if it has lights, and then we're sunrise to sunset if it doesn't.
So Commissioner Peters, you're saying if, I guess I'm on the, I guess Commissioner Hurley, we invest a lot of money in lights for volleyball. And if other parks are open at 10, but I guess you're saying if I get in at 9:30, I can stay to 12 o'clock if I want to because the sensor's gonna let me out. So is there any way we could, 10 o'clock the park closing and 10 o'clock everybody gotta leave the park?
Well, that's something that we could just have a patrol unit go by and say the park's closed and everybody's got to get out. I mean, correct?
So I received a complaint a couple weeks ago, and we have been sending patrol officers to make sure that people aren't overly boisterous after the park hours closing at 10 and telling people to leave because the park is closed at 10. The light issue was not brought up to me, so if that is an issue, we can make a phone call or figure out how to shut that light off. We can take care of that.
That wasn't the issue.
But yeah, so the people that are staying there late and those kind of things, we can't have patrol.
Are you getting
do
any,
that.
do you know of any drug deals going on down there?
Not specifically
Any arrest or anything like that?
there, no. No, we haven't had any arrests down there.
Well, I mean, I'm good with staying with 10, and then if we have to, revisit it, if it is a problem. But I'd kind of like to let Chief Hicks and them maybe keep doing what they're doing to see if it's effective.
That's fine. I don't think during the winter, though, we need to keep that open till 10. It's dark for, what, 4
Yeah, but if
hours
I get off
now.
at 6 o'clock, I'm gonna go eat dinner and then go play volleyball. To me, it don't matter if
When
it's
was the
summer or
last time you
winter.
went and played volleyball?
When I was 19.
Yeah. Were they still
I tried-
using leather balls?
So I did it. I did it 2 months ago, and I couldn't walk for 3 weeks. So I've stopped again for another 20 years. But my point is for the people who are in good shape, unlike me, they don't care if it's winter or summer. I mean, you know, they want to play in that time frame. And so just because it's been dark doesn't mean that, and for them, that's the exciting part is know they can go play ball because there's lights down there. And I'd hate for them, let me put it this way, I'll just put it this way. There is another location that has a lot of volleyball courts, and I'd hate for my community to have to drive to that community to use the volleyball because we shut ours down. If that makes any sense.
What are the hours at Hickory Point?
Midnight. I don't know.
I think, someone told me most county parks are sunrise to sundown,
Yeah.
is what I was told.
I have no idea. But for tonight, I'll say midnight.
And I guess I know sometimes we get phone calls from 2 or 3 people, but I don't think that represents, and I'm sensitive to the people who live next door, but we also remember this is a citywide park that we invested city money in, so I would like to hear from more people than 3 that call. I got 1 call, but I don't know if the Paramount Park Association, because I mean, we get some people who are younger who may not come to the meeting, they'll rant and rave next week. Why'd you guys shut it down at 10 o'clock? You know, the great things happening. So I really like to hear more discussion from a broader group of people, especially the volleyball players who may, I mean, if nobody uses volleyball, I mean, there's no need to have a discussion. And we're talking about something we don't know, because I don't play volleyball.
I live there, I haven't seen lights on
You
the
haven't seen
volleyball
anybody?
court.
Travis,
6
do you
to
know
12 months.
anybody
So they're
using
not even using it?
Not at nighttime. I've
Oh,
seen it in the
yeah.
I
daytime.
go by them at night to get to my house. They're on, sometimes they're on when there's nobody down there.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. But
Well,
it's not-
for example,
it's
I
not-
know they play on Wednesday nights and Friday nights. That's 2 just set, they have a set night so those 2 nights I know.
Sunday night's a big usage too.
Sunday night's big wrestling, them guys, yeah.
So maybe Travis.
But I
can
would be
kinda
good with
report
7 to
back.
10. Well, that's what we are right now, isn't it?
Mhm.
But there's no sign.
Okay.
And, there's, you know,
And if we
Something
have
needs
the
signed.
police department going by there, making sure everybody leaves, you know.
So we have no sign that's saying it closes at
No.
10?
no, and we used to.
I thought there is a sign on the gate.
Park
Well,
hours are posted on the sign.
on the side by the fence. I'll double check.
Okay.
So they're okay with staff bringing something back to us?
Yep.
You don't need staff to bring anything back to you, because if you stay at 10, that's what the sign is now. That's what the internal policy is now. So We'll double check on the lights to make sure that they are shut down at 10. We'll double check on the sign. Pretty sure there is a sign out there. And I'll make sure I get with Chief to do patrols after 10. And see where it goes from there.
You okay with that? Any public comment on this? Okay, we'll move to our next item, which is commission discussion, consider proposed home improvement grant program.
It's just a quick discussion here. If the commission is happy with our proposal here, I'll put this back on consent agenda for the next meeting with a resolution formally adopting the program. Essentially, we talked about this program during the budget workshop, and it provides an opportunity to help homeowners improve their houses, facades, landscape, and those type of things. Mike worked on this a little bit with me and comparing some other communities. Tavares, we used a little bit, Claremont, I think, some out-of-state cities. So we kind of mixed everybody's program, tried to keep it simple with these priorities. A, make sure that facades and those type of things are corrected. 2, make a priority for low to moderate income, and then we define that. And then 3, made another priority if you're located in the community redevelopment districts, which identified Carver Heights, as well as the Pine Street corridor, and as well as kind of that Maine to Dixie corridor, which is in the downtown CRA. And then in the other areas, we also opened it up to the general fund. So the next level of funding would be really anybody else in the community. And then based on funding levels, we take those priorities and bring back a recommendation to the commission. We picked the number which seemed to be standard around the communities of 50% up to $5,000. I think those are pretty much all the highlights. So we'll take your feedback and move accordingly.
Any questions, comments from the commission?
I'd just like to see it focused on, lower income, homes. I mean, I think that was what we talked about in budget meetings.
And that's a 5-year forgiveness?
Did we keep that in there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And there's no match?
50%.
Okay. Commissioner Hurley, anything? Ms. Peters, anything else?
No.
Mr.
No,
Dennis?
I'm fine with this.
Okay.
Public comment? Any public comment? Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll get a resolution for that written up and put it on consent for the next meeting. Pending your approval of it, we'll go ahead and start marketing it and try to get some grant apps in for the funding cycle, which will start October 1.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Item D is a purchase request for purchase of new furniture for the Venetian Center. That you, Alan Thornton.
Either way, we've got a couple choices. I don't know if you want to roll out the chairs, but Mike and the team put together a package to furnish the community center, or the Venetian Center. I can't remember that number off the top of my head. I think it's in the packets. It was it was $195 for the I'm trying to go to the 202. And the big discrepancy in there is, the package includes a bunch of stuff, a stage, a desk for the outside, different chairs. I can't remember how many round tables. What was the number of round tables?
42.
42 round tables, rectangular tables with respective holders, and then 500 chairs. The difference in the pricing of the chairs is the upright chair versus the fold chair, and to go with 500 of the upright chairs, the difference in pricing was about $40,000. So our recommendation is to go with the upright chair.
Yeah.
The total budget, like I said, is $212. It's a little bit over our estimated budget. We threw in a meager $100,000 for furnishing, but we're still within our contingency of the project. So Our contingency was roughly about
It's a little below 200.
I was gonna say 280.
I got 3 more requested.
So right now I'm about 200. I thought I was at 285 last week.
Right now, and we're still in discussion over 3 issues, but right now you're, if we accept all 3 of those, it's 170.
Okay, so I'm
I don't think we're
sitting.
going to accept all 3 of them, so I would guess we're, say, 190, 195.
Okay, so we're talking some about a little under 200 left in the contingency. So the contingency covers the change in the furnishings.
Okay, so basically, we're not doing that year.
If you don't want to do that chair, we'll go with that chair and
In a darker color, please.
Yeah, that's not the right color. That's
As long as you don't use this year. Yeah, you get that out of it.
so your number is that.
Thanks, Mike.
Cheers.
Making me nervous,
chair
Mike.
does not exist.
Making me nervous, man.
Does that one fold up?
No, they stack.
Goodness, where are they stacked?
Yes.
It's too much money to put them chairs on that.
And then when it comes to the colors, we have a meeting scheduled for
Okay.
Wednesday morning with the architect, Leah Connor, and Travis at
Just
Public
think of
Works
wear
to
and
go
tear.
over all the
Yeah,
colors.
wear and tear and dirt, so we
Right.
really have to watch that.
Yes.
Any,
Whatever staff recommends is fine with me.
You're gonna
That's
bring
the-
back the options when you pick all the colors and good stuff.
Certainly.
We got, so that's the resolution. I think we left the number open, so we'll put the 212 number in there,
Okay.
which gets you that chair.
you need a motion on that?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion on that 212 number?
Move to accept $212,000 for the chairs for the new community center.
Furniture,
Good. For all the furniture.
furnishings.
Furnishing, second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion from the commission? From the public? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Christian?
Yes. Item 6, information reports. 6A is the fiscal year 2018-2019 unaudited third quarter financial report. Anything you want to update us on, Mr. Minner? or
No, sir.
Any comments from the commission, from the public? Okay. City attorney items.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right. City manager items.
Nothing tonight?
Wow. Public comment. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or be scheduled for consideration at a future city commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, please. Any public comment tonight?
Santa Henderson. It's to discuss the Dozier thing, and I feel a little responsible because Pam called me and asked me. I did research on streets a few years ago, and when I went to find Doziers, I found some over on Lono, but they said they weren't related to the family. So I did tell Pam to call Gloria Ann, and Gloria Ann found a lot more stuff, and a lot of Doziers have come about. So I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for any mistake I caused anybody to make.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. And I know we have some of the Dozier family. Carol, that's you, Carol? Hey, Carol. I know we have some of the Dozier family here, and as I tried my best to assure you that the city made an error on our part, that we would correct it easily. I couldn't speak for other commissioners, but when the name change came, there was no fanfare or we would jump up and down, let's change his name. So I don't know if anybody, Al wants to say something, but I don't want anybody to stress out. From my perspective, I have no issue with changing the name back to Dozier Boulevard, Dozier Circle, whatever the name be, to represent the Dozier family. If any other commissioners, Mike?
I support, I'm all for Dozier.
Okay, that's 2. Commissioner Hurley, got anything?
Not yet. I ain't
Not
got
yet.
the Public yet.
You haven't?
Just wanted to say that we had asked for information, did not receive it. So just realize we weren't doing this to be vindictive or anything. And I'm fine with Dozier Circle or Dozier Boulevard.
Okay. City manager?
And that's all I was going to add. Mr. Mayor, you brought this to my attention about 2 weeks after the transaction, and Facebook was a Twitter with all about how we're idiots up here and don't look into anything, and we're cavalier and changing Leesburg pieces one part at a time. So I think it's important to talk about the perspective of where we went and how we got there. The partnership has been very, and nobody is getting thrown under the bus. It's not criticism, but it is perspective, so you don't think we're brain dead up here. The partnership, I think, has made a concerted effort, and I think it's pretty supported to rebrand and try to get as much activity to Leesburg as possible. Towards that, the commission went along with the concept to rebrand the lakefront and those issues, and so we had a big, long discussion about that. The next part of that discussion was the partnership on the phone with me saying, when are you changing Dozer Circle name? We got to change Dozer Circle name. So I was like, I know we've talked about this internally, so we'll take a look at that. And as we agendize that, Pam and I got together and said, we better double check with the Historical Society to make sure that we get the commission properly advised. And to that extent, we did. We work with the Historical Society. I think my office a lot, whether it's been the Moat Morris House or different issues around town, or helping them out on different occasions. And so we reached out to 2 members from the Historical Society. And it's fair to say there's maybe some communication errors and not knowing in these type of things. And when members were asked that, there wasn't an immediate, don't do that, it's horrible. If we got that reaction, that would have been reported to you, but we didn't. And I think now that this action is upon you, I think we probably need to go back and I don't know if you want to name it Dozier Circle anymore since the circle is gone, but Dozier Boulevard, Dozier Court, Dozier something. And if the commission's direction is that tonight, it's as simple as making a resolution and bringing it and putting it on consent agenda for the next meeting. So the important part there is, we made an attempt to do some history and some research. And I think we called the right organization, and we'll continue to use that organization in the future. And I think handoffs are missed, and I'll take responsibility for that, and we'll move forward. But
Realize too, we were never going to officially get rid of long-term Dozier. There was going to be a plaque put on the oak trees, and it was going to be remembered that way. But we're perfectly willing to revisit this.
And on that note, and I don't want to keep beating this, but on that note, I was the one who brought up the concept of the plaque for the trees based on the information that Gloria Ann gave to us and noting that Lawrence Dozier was noted for the oak trees that he planted in that area and all that. So we were trying to do a tip of the hat to that and recognize it from the information that we got from the Historical Society.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Grizzard.
Thank you. Tom Grizzard, and speaking as Commodore of the Leesburg Boat Club, whose address is 1 Dozier Circle. I respectfully request that you consider renaming Dozier Circle to Dozier Court, as much as there's no more a circle, and out of respect for the Dozier family. I certainly hope you do that.
Thank you, sir.
Does the boat club want to keep 1 as well?
I'm Gloria Ann Foz, and I'm the manager for the museum down the street here. I'm no longer the president of our Heritage Society. Santa holds that title. When information is requested from the Heritage Society, it must be remembered that you can't do it overnight. I received a voice message on the day I brought my dog home from Shands Veterinary Hospital. She had almost died. There was no way that a lot of information could be provided. That was only 4 days ahead of the vote. So I want to remind people that you don't blink your eye and get information, historical information. It takes hours and days and weeks. And the last information that I got with Mr. Dozier's death notice and everything, it took me several days to transcribe it, ended up about 9 pages. but he was an important man, and he spent so much of his time trying to get our Cross Florida Canal. In fact, he even forewent a surgery that caused his death because he was so much more interested in doing something for the people of our community and our state. So Lawrence Dozier was a very community-minded person, born here in 1870 and died in 1914, and so we do really want to remember him well.
Thank you, Ms. Foss, and thanks for all that you do. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Max Parker Jr. I'm Vice President of West Leesburg CDC. I just want to make the city aware and people aware that West Leesburg CDC give out scholarships to young men that live in the West Leesburg area. This Saturday we're having a amateur boxing event called Fighting for the Future. 22 bouts are set right now for Saturday at Leesburg High School. And just want to make everybody aware. We're looking forward to everybody to come out to support the kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Any public comment? Anything? Yes, sir.
Pleasure to let me speak tonight. My name is Mike Dozier, and aside from any name association, I think just the fact that Ellie Dozier was mayor here and was the first founding families, one of the first 5 founding families here. He had a big influence. He was part of Leesburg, and so I think we should leave the name Dozier Circle or Dozier Court as long as there's a Dozier in there. They took away Dozier Avenue, which Dixie used to be Dozier Avenue. I'm not sure if y'all are aware of that or not. Yeah, Dixie Avenue used to be Dozier Avenue. They renamed that to Dixie and put Dozier Circle in. They built the circle down there. So they've already degraded it once. So I just would like to say that, you know, from a historical standpoint, if nothing else, I think that we should leave it as Dozier Circle or Dozier Court or something, as in remembering of Ellie Dozier, because he was such a beginning forefather here and had so much to do with Leesburg.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I'll say this to you, Mayor, and for the public too, I certainly have no problem with keeping it Dozier, whatever that shows the honor and respect that the family deserves. I would like to say to all the Facebook king and queens out there, you know, we have a forum, and this is how you address stuff, with civility and with information, and you know, getting on there and lambasting people and name calling and creating havoc doesn't help anybody. And so, you know, I just always like to encourage everybody, you know, if there is an issue, based on the information, you know, everybody was acting in the best faith that we thought. But I think we're all honored to keep it the Dozier name, and we respectfully, you know, have no problem putting it back. I don't think any of us do. But if you would pass on tonight when you get on Facebook that there is a way to do it, and this is really the way to get it done.
Thank you, sir.
So I make a motion that we change it back to Dozier Court, unless you have a preference of Boulevard Street or other.
Court's fine. All right. I think Al has to bring it back in resolution form.
Yeah, I'll bring it back in resolution form. It'll be on consent agenda at the next meeting.
Okay. And since we did find so much interesting information, and I don't know if Al, I think the commission, I would like to see the plaque have some information, what Mr. Mike just said about the Dozier under one of the oak trees, so we don't miss and lose the history, because when people leave, you know, and nobody says, well, who's Mr. Dozier? You know, Dixie was once Dozier. So for me, I know we got a lot of history stuff going around our county right now, but we don't write our history down, we miss it. So I think it's important if we do a plaque still in front of the oak trees and just kind of identify what Mr. Dozier did. And Gloria Ann, since you've done so much history, I'm sure you can give us some information to help
I'll give you that. The point is, we have a museum where we collect family information. Now, if someone wants some information about a family, It's there. That's where I found what I did about Mr. Dozier, in a family file. Anybody can make the effort to come to the museum, because it's only a block and a half from here, and look at the family files, and to learn a lot about different families. And if you haven't given us your own family files, do so as soon as you can.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Do you still have the picture we donated of Ellie Dozier?
Do you think, since we're on streets, that we could make South and Dixie one name? Because my wife still gets confused on which side is 27.
That's a state, isn't it? State road, South Street. You know, South, we go across 27, it turns over to South Street.
44 truck route
And
is
on
Dixie.
this side is Dixie.
And this
Changes to
side
South
is
Street.
South Street.
Yeah, it's been that way.
That's state
I
road.
wouldn't recommend changing it.
I don't want to change nothing.
We don't want the South family to get
I'll
upset.
get Ginger a map.
Somebody get upset.
You know, I think the bigger issue you have with that is if you change that south side, you're going to have a number of people.
It was a joke, Al. It was a joke.
I got it.
My wife still would get
He's
lost.
on edge right now, man.
I'm laughing on the inside.
Any other public comment? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Dennison?
The only thing I've got tonight, 3 of us, Commissioner Peterson, Mayor Christian, I always call him John, so I have to stop. Mayor Christian went to Beverly Shores Elementary School this morning. It was the first day back.
I was there sweating. Where were you?
Where were you? You were supposed to bring the coffee.
No, they had me in the sun on the car drop-off
Oh,
side,
we went
opening
over the
doors.
buses.
Oh, wow.
I look like a small wet rag. Well, a large wet rag.
Anyway, the kids got back for the first day of school, all spiffed out and, white shoes and the beads in the hair, and most of them were asleep.
Sleepy.
We were there to say good morning to them and wish them luck and everything. There were quite a few. There was actually 2 men from Men of Distinction that were there as well. And I think everybody got a lot out of it. I really do. Just keep Beverly Shore School in your thoughts because they need help. Whether it's tutoring or anything else, keep in contact with them and they'll let you know what they need. But it was funny because the parents had walked the kids past and everybody was kind of like in mourning. And on the way back out, the parents all had big smiles on their face. That's all I had.
Commissioner Peterson?
I'll make a few comments on Beverly Shores. And I'll just throw this out to the commission for discussion, and then we can maybe revisit it another time. We don't need to get bogged down tonight, but it was the only F school, I believe, in the Lake County School District. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I guess my challenge is, I know it's a school board responsibility, but what can we do as a city commission to help get the rating on that school up? And I had that on my mind anyway, but after going there this morning and seeing all these kids, I think we have some kind of duty to help correct the only F school in Lake County, especially if it's an elementary school. And whether, and I'm open-minded to anything, but I just want to challenge everybody to think about that. Maybe we can talk about it in the next meeting.
Commissioner Hurley?
But on that train of thought, just to help out, so it was last year the only F school. I had a meeting on Thursday with the school superintendent. Last year, there were 17 classrooms that had substitutes in because they didn't have teachers to fill the spots.
Okay.
This year, all those 17 classrooms have been filled. They also transferred the principal from Treadway Elementary over here, which is a great school, and they also allowed her to bring her staff. So I think the school board
We met some good people.
recognized
We met
it.
some really good people.
Yeah, so the school board recognized it as well, and I shared with her that our sentiments obviously were that anything we could do to help out, but I think just it's important. The kids have to have a teacher that's dedicated to the class, understands them, knows them. That's the critical first point, and then the administration in place that'll support them, give them the tools. So I think this year, they may not make it to an A school, but I definitely don't think they're going to be an F school, and with what she has planned. So that was really encouraging. Also, I don't know if any of you all made it to the boys and girls black and white ball, but again, They had tremendous success this year. They hit a new record. I think it was $228,000 they raised. Afterwards, I met with the Boys and Girls Club again, the Central Florida unit, and you know, they are exciting. I believe Al has a contract ready for them or something right now that's about to go. So, you know, whatever changes that they're going through, I mean, it looks like they're finally starting to move forward in the right direction. The new chapter that's taken over them is definitely stepped up and has its act together. So,
Well,
I
and the new
think
locations we're talking about are right near Beverly Shores.
Yeah.
So that'll be a big positive.
big positive, yeah. So I think some good things are happening in the Boys and Girls Club. So that's all I have.
Mayor Christian?
Well, of course, I spent a lot of time in Beverly Shores with Dash for Donuts, and of course, today was a great day, the first day of school. But I think I'm just echoing off what both of you have said, Commissioner Dennison. You know, what can we do? I think we're already doing some things with our partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, our teen center coming up, because that feeder system is going to go from Beverly Shores to Carver to the high school. So for me, I like to do things that we can control. We provide a facility, we provide the staff, we can tell whoever's in the building, this is what we need. We need more mentoring, more tutoring. So as Commissioner Hurley was saying, when you got substitute teachers, I think one lady told me her son had 3 teachers in the first 2-9 weeks. You know, teachers kept coming. So I can only imagine get a new teacher and trying to learn attitudes and behavior. So for me, I think, you know, what we're talking about proposing in our partnership within our community neighborhood groups, I think when we provide support, we tell them, hey, these kids come from Beverly Shores, they need after-school tutoring, they need mentoring, and help the teachers, because a lot of teachers, I mean, sometimes in my church we do, the teachers and the parents start talking, it's almost like a battle royal. The parents are complaining about teachers complain about the parents, so until we get that common ground, until we can help one another, and I think we're moving in the right direction, what we're doing with our community partnerships. But I think we can, that school will turn around with a principal that's there longer than 3 years. I said when I was in school, my principal was there the whole 4 or 5 years I was in school. I didn't get a new principal every 2 years. So I think that's going to be a big help, and I think the school district understands what I need. So I just think it helps Leesburg economical when we provide and put out, you know, good quality students. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you for coming. Ms. Carol, you opened up a new box, and Jim, I thought you were going to say something about it. She just opened up a new boxing thing for children too, right?
Yes, we have a
Can you come just real quick? I thought you were going to say something about it.
Hi guys. So we have a boxing.
Tell us your name, please.
My name is Carol Patterson. I own a home health business in Leesburg, but now I'm venturing into boxing. I've never boxed before, but I see where we could help the community and the kids. So we have 2 part of it for health and fitness for the parents, and then we have another side for the kids, which is a not-for-profit. It's called Primo Outreach and Boxing for Kids. So I'm just asking anyone that could help us get to where we need to go. It's new, and we're just trying to adventure and just helping the kids in the community.
Now, where are you located?
We're located in Leesburg, 2106 US Highway 441. So we're down by the racetrack near Sleepy Hollow. Okay, so you guys just stop in. We just got approved by Leesburg, so we could open tomorrow.
So Commissioner Hurley's going to go on and do a little box with Commissioner Peterson. They're going to try to do my. All right, motion to adjourn.